And so the long story short of all of this is this: you can get high off hemp. I'm saying. Nearing the end of 2018, when Trump signed the 2018 Farm Bill into effect, I don't think anyone realized what he actually signed. It may come as a surprise to you, but he essentially Welcome back, wonderful people and patients. This is Dr. Andrioni, aka the Cannabis Doc, and today I'm back with another cool topic to discuss. We're gonna be decoding the cannabinoids. I'll be breaking down these cannabinoids like you've never seen it before. And if you stay till the end of this video, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret that's gonna blow you away. Something in such plain sight that's gone over all of our heads. So I'm gonna be answering the following questions: the difference between hemp and marijuana, the what and why of all these new cannabinoids, and then I'm gonna have that banger for you at the end.
Another banger.
Don't forget, let's get right to it. So as we already may know, there are many different kinds of cannabinoids produced naturally in the cannabis plant, with the two most famous or most studied being CBD and THC. I think there's like upwards of 150 or more. I could be wrong. However, as you may also know, there has been a bunch of newer novelty cannabinoids popping up in the cannabis space or hemp space in the last couple of years. Which ones, you ask? Delta 8, Delta 10, HHC, THCO, THCP, the list goes on. But then that begs the question, where and why did these newer novel cannabinoids start popping up? Well, the answer to that partly lies in the distinction between hemp and marijuana. So let's go over it. So cannabinoids like Delta 8, HHC, THCO, etc. started popping up near the end of 2018 once Trump signed the 2018 Farm Bill into legislation. This bill did two major things. One, it removed hemp from the Controlled Substance Act, and it amended the definition of hemp. So basically now hemp contains less than 0.3% THC on a dry weight basis, whereas marijuana contains 0.3% THC or more on a dry weight basis. Literally, that one difference is the only legally defining difference between the two. But let's not forget, it's still cannabis. So now let's put that statement another way. Any and all other cannabis products with less than 0.3% THC, so I'm talking about Delta 8, HHC, THCO, and other THC-like products, are legally defined as hemp under federal law. Bruh. So this sentence right here, all derivatives, extracts, cannabinoids, isomers, acids, salts, and salts of isomers, whether growing or not, pretty much gave every company in the CBD space the green light to round up all their chemistry sets and start producing any and all kinds of cannabinoid derivatives, as long as it was produced or derived from hemp, which contains less than 0.3% THC. And if you remember from my other video, not too long ago, I had shared the DEA's statement on what they thought about Delta 8 and 9 THCO. They came out with a statement that basically implied that these substances were still Schedule 1. However, they can imply all they want, this still doesn't change the fact that hemp is still federally legal. And thank you to a couple of my subscribers who pointed this out to me in that video. However, I'm not too sure how long all of this will still remain as is. I do believe that the Farm Bill renews every 5 years. And it is that time. And so now you might be wondering, how are all these THC derivatives like Delta 8, HHC, THCO, and the others derived from hemp?
Science.
Not long after the bill was signed, a group of researchers published an article in 2020 called The Conversion of CBD to Psychotropic Cannabinoids, including THC, a controversy in the scientific literature. This article goes over and demonstrates all the various ways to synthesize all these molecules from CBD. I'll leave a link to this article in the description below. These guys basically handed out the playbook to make legal psychoactive cannabinoids. And you already know CBD companies jumped on this like white on rice. I'm saying, wow. But I think you'd be surprised that this isn't the first article of its kind. Back in the day, in like the 1940s, the US government was doing all sorts of weird experiments using cannabinoids and testing them on humans and animals and things like that. Most of all these experiments were led by Roger Adams, an American chemist, who actually discovered the cannabinoids before Raphael Mechoulam, but they didn't have the technology at the time, like the mass spec and all that stuff, to actually confirm the structure. But I'm pretty sure he predicted it correctly. Wild stuff though, and that's for another video. Interestingly enough, most of these reactions don't require that many steps, but they all require a strong acid, high temperatures, and of course a professional lab setting. And therefore, it's dangerous if you do this at home or anywhere else other than a lab setting. So please, do not try to do this at home. Don't worry though, you're not gonna need to. I'm gonna sum it up for you without all the chemical reactions and explosions in 5, 4, 3, decoding the cannabinoids. All right guys, so let's take a look at the THC molecule. This is the numbering system. I'm gonna keep this here so it's gonna be much easier to follow. Kind of sketched with the 6A and the 10A, but I digress. So there are three main ways that they can alter or change THC to produce a molecule that's just a little bit different, but still different than THC. And all of these changes, which I'm sure some of you will recognize some of them, all influence the psychoactivity at the CB1 receptor. So the first area that they can alter on THC is at the ring isomer. Here we can pretty much go right around the ring, like ring around the rosy, if you will. We have delta 9, we have delta 8, we have delta 10. The ring isomer area, manipulating this area is gonna have the least amount of effect on the CB1 receptor. And I think out of all the ring isomers that we just talked about, delta 9 still might be the most psychoactive. And one little fun fact about delta 8 that delta 9 doesn't share with it, because of the double bond being on the 8 to 9 rather than the 9 to 10, this makes delta 8 have a more stable shelf life and it's less prone to oxidation compared to delta 9. However, despite the stability, delta 8 THC has been shown to be less psychoactive or produce a more mild psychoactive effect when compared to delta 9, which isn't a bad thing. Many people aren't looking to get high or as high as they would with delta 9. If some people just want that mild effect, delta 8 seems to be okay. And there seems to be a lot of growing support in the scientific community for delta 8 as well. So the second area that we can manipulate on THC is at the hydroxyl group on the benzene ring. Here we can add the acetate to form THCO or THCO acetate. And if we don't already know, go watch this video. But THCO, because of that acetate ester, is more potent and has a higher binding affinity to the CB1 receptor when compared to delta 9. This acetate allows THC to act as a prodrug, which means once it bypasses the liver, then that acetate is cleaved and then it's regular THC. And it sticks around much longer. Altering the hydroxyl group definitely makes a difference at the CB1 receptor. And then the third and last area that we mess with on THC is at the aliphatic chain lengths, or the side carbon chain. Basically, it's like THC's little tail. And as we see with cannabinoids like THCV, that carbon side chain is only 3 carbons. And so it's not as potent at the CB1 receptor as delta 9, which has 5 carbons. And then likewise, we see that delta 9 is less potent than THCP, which has a 7 carbon side chain length. And then I'm not sure if you guys are even aware of this one, THCJD has an 8 carbon side chain length, making this one even stronger than THCP. And then this last one that doesn't really fit into these 3 categories is the hydrogenation to form HHC. You just hydrogenate THC to get HHC. HHC has been said to be more mild than delta 9 THC. And that's really it. And this is stuff that we kind of already know. Anything natural or produced naturally in plants or cannabis, they only bind partially to the receptors. They're known as partial agonists. And then once we synthesize it or manipulate it in some way, it will become stronger. Unless we're talking about the ring isomers where it doesn't really have too much of an effect. And so the long story short of all of this is this: you can get high off hemp. I'm saying this is what all the CBD companies or manufacturers are doing to create all these semi-synthetic cannabinoids with all these chemical reactions. Based on my own experience though, and others that I've talked to, the result of just about any chemical conversion or process for any synthetic cannabinoid as well is not just one product. It's usually a mix or a slurry of resulting products, and many of which may be unknown or unwanted byproducts. And all these things need to be removed or should be removed before consumption. And thus, the safety of all these products really depends on the companies or manufacturers that are creating the product. And so, like I've said before, and I'll always say, when purchasing any type of cannabinoid product, whether it be in the dispensary or online or anywhere, whether it be delta 8, delta 9, HHC, etc., there are always a few things to consider. Always check the source and the quality of the product by looking for reputable vendors and licensed dispensaries that prioritize safety and integrity. Look for third-party lab testing results to ensure potency, purity, and the absence of harmful contaminants. And lastly, consider consulting with a healthcare professional if you have any other questions. The mind-blowing moment. If you guys have made it this far, congrats, because I'm about to blow your mind. I'm saying, because I'm about to say something that I've been wanting to say this whole video. I feel like this kid right here.
Jesus Christ.
So I think I did clearly answer this, but if I didn't, does hemp make you high? Technically, yes. Is hemp legal? Yes. But wait a second, isn't hemp defined as anything less than 0.3% THC on a dry weight basis? Wait a second. Bruh, cannabis doesn't produce THC naturally. It produces THCA. Let that sink in. Yeah, basically, Donald Trump made weed legal. And if you don't believe me, go to your local dispensary, ask them to see a COA on flower, and then tell me what it says. If it says THC, fine. If it says THCA, which it's gonna say because it's always gonna be in the acidic form unless the cannabis was cared for poorly, or it's old. And guys, at the end of the day, hemp is sold in gas stations, it's sold online, it's sold in stores. And although state laws may vary, this stuff is pretty accessible. So you really wanna be careful on which product or company that you're choosing.